Are you a high-achieving dental entrepreneur frustrated by the gap between where you are and where you want to go? Are you tired of advisors whose advice keeps you merely surviving when you should be thriving? I'm Tim McNeely, and I believe you deserve to build true wealth so you can take even better care of the people you love, the causes you care about, and leave your dent in the universe. Welcome to the Dental Wealth Nation Show, where we hand you the keys to unlock true wealth quicker and with less effort than you ever thought. Sometimes life can throw you things that you're not ready for. It certainly happened in my life, and it's probably happened just more than a couple of times in your life too. And that's why I'm so excited that you are here today on the Dental Wealth Nation Show, because by the time we finish, you're going to know why protecting both your personal income and your business income, that's right, they both tie together, is so essential, not just for emergencies, but really for the long-term stability of your wealth and your practice. You're going to walk away and you're going to have clarity and confidence to understand exactly how income protection fits into your financial and business strategy. But most importantly of all, I want you to walk away feeling calm, covered, and confident, no matter what life throws at you, knowing that you and your family are going to be okay. I'm so excited today. I'm going to be talking with Alex Wefdorf. He is the dental DI guy. And here's what I love about Alex. He's not just selling policies. He really has a heart to help you make smart choices and a passion for helping to make sure your income and your business is truly protected. Alex, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Oh, I'm so excited about this. And for those who don't know you, give me a little bit about your history and how you got started helping dentists protect both their personal and their business income.
Yeah, I got into the insurance business when it comes to disability insurance about 7.5 years ago. I started out as a CP. I wanted to go the CPA route. Obviously, didn't finish that, and I kind of fell into it. I didn't choose it, but I quickly became enamored by a conversation that's just not happening, I would say, with most people when it comes to what happens if sickness or injury come knocking on your door and you can't provide. And then I quickly realized that when I would, talk to friends, nobody's talking with them about income protection, that I really derived a passion from, I want to make sure people have money coming in the door if they become too sick or hurt to work.
Wow, very, very powerful, Alex. And paint a little bit of a picture for me. I've certainly seen it happen, but for the doctors who really aren't aware, paint a little bit of a picture of what can happen if your ability to earn income is impacted.
Yeah, I think the reality is your biggest asset is your ability to make money. You go to dental school or you go to a residency afterwards to be able to help people with their mouth, right? Or different things going on in there. And so you have a lot of debt and you make a lot of money, obviously. That's really great, but it can all come crashing down if you can't get up and go to work. And so I want people to think about that, right? Life happens. We know that death is inevitable. We just don't know when it's going to happen. But when it comes to disability insurance, it's not guaranteed that you're going to become disabled, but your biggest asset, again, in your life is your ability to make money. It's not your house. It's not your car. So you need to protect it. You need to make sure that money's coming in.
So within dentistry, is disability common? Does that happen often?
Yeah, dentists are a large claim in the industry because 26% of claims are coming due to musculoskeletal issues. And so you think of a dentist who's hunched over all day, something happens to their back, it's over. And so dentists we see quite a bit, or anything that happens with their hands. If you develop a tremor or your grip dexterity is diminishing before your eyes. Last year I had a buddy of mine who wrote a disability policy on a dental student who had just graduated the year before, who's on claim for the next 30 years because the grip dexterity just went away. Can't do it. Wow. So it absolutely happens in the dentist world more often than not.
But I mean, do we know how often dentists get disabled? Is it 1 out of 10, 1 out of 50? Do you have any idea what that number looks like?
I don't have the number on the 1 out of 10, but I'll tell you right now, the data on just every working individual, 1 in 4 of today's 20-year-olds will become disabled before the age of 65.
1 in 4. That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's not occupation specific, but it is looking at just the general population and 1 in 4. And so I think, the reason why people think of disability insurance and they think they don't need it is because they think of like a car accident. And when I say 1 in 4, it's because the label of disability is very large and very broad, because it's any sickness, any injury that prevents you from being able to do your job. So we have people that are out on, there are people in the industry that are out on claim today for anxiety, for depression. It could be a substance abuse thing. It could be cancer, heart attack, stroke. I mean, the list really does go on.
Wow. Well, and I want to dive into that occupation bit here in a second, because I think that's really important. But talk to me a little bit about just kind of doctors and dentists, getting disability coverage. Is this common? Do a lot of them buy it, or do they kind of put it off? What do you typically see take place?
Honestly, doctors are the #2 purchaser of disability insurance in the country, behind maybe a medical resident. So, if you're going to go into any kind of doctor business, specialty wise, they're the #1, and then the dentist is #2. So it's very, very commonplace. I would say a lot of dentists are talked to in their 4th year in dental school, and they're asked to buy it. And so there's discounts that are available, generally speaking, with the carriers to be able to buy it while they're in school before they graduate.
Okay. And so doctors really do kind of get a special deal on this that's not really available to the general population. Is that what I'm hearing?
They do. Yeah. I cannot go buy a policy today with a discount on it, but any dental student or medical resident in the country, they're going to be able to do that more likely than not.
Wow. Interesting. And so, when is really the ideal time for a doctor to consider it? Is it that 4th year of dental school? Like, because, a 4th year dental student may be thinking, well, I don't know if I'm going to work as an associate or in a practice. So maybe I'll wait until I pay some of my student loans off. Like, talk to me a little bit about that strategy of when should you really consider this, and how much should you buy?
Yeah, that's a great question, because, dental students, they're not making any money, right? They're racking up a bunch of debt. And so I would say the time to buy is in their 4th year, when they're about to graduate. And the reason that is because of that discount they can get for the lifetime of their contract. You don't have to buy the maximum amount that a carrier will offer for a dental student. They have special programs that you can get smaller benefits to ease your way in. And the nice thing about that is they have a lifetime discount. They don't have to go through medical underwriting ever again. If they have, there's riders on there that allow them, basically, they guarantee insurability for the future. And so the best time is that 4th year. When insurance is the best time to buy it is now, right? That's the truth. But for a dental student, it's the best time is the 4th year.
Wow. Okay. And I know sometimes I hear doctors say, well, this is just a necessary evil. I've got to buy this disability policy. Is that the right way to think about this? Or is there a more strategic way to think about disability insurance and eventually business insurance also?
Yeah, I think everybody hates insurance. I don't like insurance. I'm sure you do not like insurance either. I don't like to see the premiums come out of my paycheck or my bank account every single month. The way that I look at insurance is I protect the things I can't afford to lose. So the example I always give to people is, I can afford, I don't buy the insurance on my couch. I have 4 kids, 8 down to 3 years old. And so that thing's getting beat up pretty good, as you can imagine, over the last 8 years. And I don't need a protection plan for stains or anything like that, because I'll just go buy a new couch. It's $1,000, $2,000, whatever it may be, depending on your state, right? But when it comes to your income, you can't afford to lose it. You can't afford to lose your car. You can't afford to lose your house. And so that's what insurance is there for. It is a protection to provide a peace of mind, rather than, I just got to buy this insurance thing. We all have the demeanor, but again, the concept is protect what you can't afford to lose.
Yeah. Well, and actually, I'm just kind of curious. I'm going to ask my friend here what the average earnings of a dentist is over their lifetime. Do you know what that is?
Oh, man. I don't know.
Let's find out. Earning of a dentist over their lifetime. And because, we're talking about protecting income. And, so actually, well, this is pretty staggering. A general dentist making $200,000 of income, their lifetime earnings over 37 years, $7.4 million. If you're a specialist, $350,000 a year, you're looking at $12.9 million of lifetime earning income, right? We're talking some pretty substantial numbers. And to not protect an asset like that, I think is probably a foolish financial mistake, because if something happens with your hands, you're out. But not just your hands, like you mentioned, it's a lot of the musculoskeletal systems and other things. And so yeah, I think those are big numbers.
Those are pretty big numbers. Yeah. And I think, think about the domino effect of what happens if someone goes on claim. Let's say a
Mm,
dentist injures their back and they're out for a year and they're rehabbing it. Then someone's got to take care of them. They have obviously new medical bills they weren't budgeting for. What does it look like for contributing for the future with you, right? For retirement, price slows down, maybe it diminishes. So there's a lot of things that go on with, a disability claim. And so not having money coming in the door, you already have more money going out the door.
mm.
That's a problem for today and for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are some of the biggest myths or things that you hear dentists that they believe about disability insurance?
Well, I would say that everybody believes that it's never going to happen to them.
Mm,
But I think that most people have that misconception that it's getting hit by a car or falling out of a tree. And
okay.
so, the people that I talk to, in the dentist world or any world, they're thinking, I don't climb trees and I look both ways before I cross the street. So therefore I don't need disability insurance. And what I let them know is, most of the claims are coming because of things you can't control. Different sicknesses that you could eat super, super healthy and get diagnosed with cancer. You can eat super, super healthy, but you might have a heart attack or suffer from a stroke, or something might just happen to your hands where you have grip dexterity just go away. So those are usually the myths. There's this preconceived notion that disability insurance is for people that are, maybe in more laborious jobs versus a dentist.
Okay, interesting. So, we just talked about kind of the lifetime earnings of a doctor, right? General dentist, average income 200,000, specialist 350, but those are averages over a dentist's entire lifespan, and they may start off making less than 200 and end up making way more than 200. And so, talk to me a little bit about how coverage works as a doctor's income grows. How can you adjust coverage over time? Do you have to go through new medical underwriting? Like what are the options? And how flexible are these policies?
That's a really good question. So this is one of the biggest reasons why you should buy it when you're younger. You're usually healthier when you're younger, and also why you're a student with a discount. But these policies that you can buy in the marketplace today, they have future insurability options. And so again, you might take out a very small benefit in your fourth year dental student as a fourth year dental student, or maybe you're just an associate dentist. Maybe you're making $120 or $140,000 out the gate, but you have all this student loan, but you're going to make 250, 350, 400, whatever that number may be. There are riders on the policy that allow you to increase without any medical underwriting, just financial underwriting. And so again, that's the importance of buying it younger, is because you'll have those riders on there most of the time, unless you get it like a rating or something of that nature where it automatically removes those riders. But yeah, there's total flexibility with these policies because you can increase. And as a dentist, you're going to make more money than when you just start at the gate and you're making X amount of dollars. You're going to make more as you work. So that's a very huge advantage from buying it early.
Interesting. So walk me through a little bit about what the process of applying for coverage works with, and why should you work with an advisor, right? You can get online and apply for this stuff. Like does working with a professional really make a difference?
I think so. The average person probably doesn't know much about disability insurance. What it doesn't matter the industry you're in, and so you're not going to know what you're going to go. What do you need to buy? How much should you buy? What should your waiting period be? What should your benefit period be? There's all these riders that you can select from. Should I have them all? Should I not have them all? And this is why working with an advisor really matters, is because they can educate you on every single rider and all the wording of a policy to let you know what's really important to you in protecting. You can always add more riders, you can always remove riders, but there's not going to be an education around the general person just going and buying disability insurance. And so working with an advisor who can lay it out for you and really shop the marketplace to see what's best for you. Because some carriers are really good in some states, and maybe they're not good in other states, or they're really good with general dentists, but they're not good with specialists, or whatever the case may be. Having an advisor allows you to go to the marketplace and figure that out.
Interesting. So, right, with policies, is there more to look at than just the premium? I mean, right, do you want the lowest premium? Is there something to that, or are there other things that go into the coverage that the premium might not tell the only story about?
Yeah, premium definitely matters. If something's $50 more a month, that's a big deal. That's $600 a year over the the course of the next 30 years. That's a lot of money. And so premium for sure is something that you look at right away. You can cast out the ones that are, maybe $100 more a month or whatever the number might be if it's egregious. But then you really got to look at what's your medical history look like?
Hmm.
Do you have pre-existing things that are okay with some carriers, but not okay with other carriers? If you look at life insurance, if you are a smoker, some carriers are okay with it compared to others, or maybe they chew or something. So I really look at not only price tag, but I look at claims data. Are they paying claims? Which there's not many disability carriers. The life insurance world, there's a lot of carriers. Disability, there's not. There's like 6 really in the dental market. And so you have to be good at paying claims probably if you're going to stay around. So I look at price tag, but also underwriting.
Okay, interesting. And what about different policy features, or what are some policy features that a doctor might want to look at?
I think the one that is the most common is called like a true own occupation rider. And so your base definition of disability insurance, because it's a privately owned policy, it protects your ability to do your job. And then if you're not working, right? So if you can't perform the duties of your job, you're not working at all because you're under the care of a doctor, the base policy is going to pay you. Having that true on the occupation rider, though, allows a dentist, especially because they are so specialized, to say, hey, I can't do the duties of my job because maybe something happened to my back or something happened to my hands, but I can go do a different job, and I do. Well, then you can still get paid by that policy, even though you're in a different occupation, still making money in that occupation. So the true on the occupation rider is very crucial. And then the third one is a partial rider called residual disability. So maybe you're not working full time. Maybe you're going through treatment or rehab or whatever it may be. You have to be off your feet for so many hours a week that your doctor recommended, that you're losing money. You're not seeing as many patients. And so you have a loss of income of 15%, 20%, 30%. Well, then at least you get a partial benefit coming from that disability carrier because you're partially disabled. So those are the 3 that are ultra important when it comes to considering, just a policy in general.
Okay. So what are some mistakes that you typically see doctors make when buying disability insurance?
I think they wait too long. The process is a little bit longer sometimes. I think they wait too long. And I think that they buy policies that don't have that true own occupation rider. I think, just buying a policy for myself is going to be way different than a policy, not way different, but it's going to have a different definition of disability for a dentist, because again, they're so specialized that, again, anything happens to their back or their hands, they're in trouble. If my back's hurting, I'm gonna struggle to do my job, but I'm gonna be able to probably do my job to a degree. Where a dentist is, if something happens to their back, they're not gonna be able to be leaning over and messing around in my mouth.
Yeah. Wow. Well, if a doctor is listening right now and they don't have any kind of coverage, what would their first steps be? Like what would you suggest they do?
They should definitely work with a professional, myself, yourself, if they are working with a financial advisor already, obviously they need to talk to somebody to help them get it, shop the market. So you're well known in the dentist space, and so they should come to you, and because they trust you and they know that you're going to do what's best for them, be a true fiduciary, and look at what is out there for the marketplace for them. Again, we don't know what their medical history is, but once we find that out, we can go shop that around and find the best policy for them.
Okay. And how can people get in touch with you, Alex, if they're listening and saying, "Hey, I want to quote, or even I want to, look at my existing policy"? Talk to me a little bit of how we find you.
So I can absolutely, put my email and my cell phone number down so anybody can call me so that I can help them kind of review what they have. Maybe, I do reviews a lot because sometimes there's a discount at different places when they go. Maybe they're practicing dentists and there's already existing dentist discount. So I do a lot of policy review, just an analysis. Maybe you bought it 10 years ago and you never added to it. So that's huge. Like you do annual reviews with your clients. You want to look at your policies. Say, I bought this 10 years ago. I have $2,000 a monthly benefit, but now I make $500,000. $2,000 a month is not going to do a whole lot for that person. So that's huge.
Okay. Now we've been talking about, primarily income disability, but there's also business income too, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that, I would say, dentists are very different than most people, especially like other doctors. a lot of doctors go into the marketplace after the residency program. They go into like a conglomerate of a hospital system. A dentist, generally speaking, they go into practice. Maybe they're an associate dentist for a little bit, but then they buy into the practice. And so they have two needs. They have income protection, and then they need to figure out business protection. So are they a partnership? Well, are they looking at funding a buy sell if one of them becomes disabled? Do they have key people at their business that maybe they have 5 dentists at their practice, and if one of them goes down, they need money to go recruit the next one, to go bring the next one in. So like a key person disability policy is very, very important. And I would say the most common policy that we see in the marketplace for a dentist, though, is overhead expense. And so the way that I describe an overhead expense policy is saying, okay, if you go down, your business is in trouble. Who's paying the light bill? Who's paying the rent? Who's paying the staff? Well, that's coming from you, and you're the revenue driver. So you need a policy that says, hey, I'm going to reimburse you for all your overhead expenses, and I'm going to buy you time. And I'm going to buy you time for one of two reasons. Either you're going to find out you're going to be able to come back to work and it's going to be fine. So this reimbursement is going to be great for paying, again, the light bill and everything like that. Or I'm not going to be coming to work. And instead of selling for pennies on the dollar, fire selling, I've known this. My business keeps going in. I've been able to bring another dentist in with that policy and pay them, and I don't have to fire sale.
Wow. Huge difference. And there's also a difference kind of in the waiting period sometimes too. So when your personal policy kicks in, what is the waiting period? I guess we should actually define, like, what is a waiting period and what do those typically look like on DI policies?
So for an individual policy, a waiting period is the length of time that you have to be on claim before you start collecting a benefit. And I would say that the majority of policies I see in the marketplace today are a 90-day waiting period. So you have to wait 90 days, and then day 91, you start to accumulate benefit with that carrier. And then day 120, you get your first paycheck tax-free. And then once you're on claim, there is a waiver of premium that is built into these contracts. So you're no longer paying the insurance carrier, but they are paying you.
Wow.
So 90 days, sometimes 180 days, but I would say generally it's a 90-day waiting period on the individual piece.
All right. And what does it look like for that business income piece?
So the different products I mentioned will have different waiting periods. The minimum waiting period on like funding a buy sell is generally 1 year. So you have to wait 1 year before this benefits can be kicked out to buy you out. Key person policies can be 90 days. They can be 180 days. They could also be 365. And there's a combination of 90-day and 180-day on policies as well. The overhead expense is the one that is the shortest, though. It's usually, you can see it as low as 30 days. And then it could pay out for 12 months, 15 months, 18 months, 24 months. So it goes, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days is what you see in those policies, but a lot of them are 30 days.
Well, right. And it sounds like they're different policies because they're protecting different things. And so, right, you're really trying to protect both your personal income plus the valuation of the practice, because if you do get in that car accident or if something happens to you, the value of your practice is going to decline quickly without a doctor in there. And so you're really trying to protect your lifetime of hard work from disappearing overnight is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. I'll ask the question to you. How many people do you talk to that they don't know the value of their business?
All the time.
All the time, right? When's the last time you did a valuation? I don't know, 15 years ago on a napkin. I get that all the time. And so the problem with that is that, maybe they think they're worth X and they're signed up with different owners. I've seen some buy sell reviews where one of those owners is not even there. And so buy sell coverage is so important because it forces that client to figure out what they're worth and how the buy sell agreement is funded, but also described.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you also mentioned one other thing that made my ears perk up, which you said tax-free benefits. So how is this income tax-free? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Because the individual disability policy is paid with after-tax dollars, the benefit is going to be tax-free. And that's a great thing, right? Because if it's a $5,000 monthly benefit, it's truly $5,000 that's going to come into your pocket. Versus like if you have like a employer-sponsored plan, like group long-term disability, if the employer is paying for the policy for me, well, then it's going to be a taxable benefit once I receive that benefit. So the $5,000 is not really $5,000; it's a $5,000 that's taxable. So because the individual policies are paid with after-tax dollars, it's going to be a tax-free benefit to that client.
Excellent. So we got a couple viewers coming in. We got Dickie Ball saying great information. Good to see you, Dickie. Always a pleasure to have you log in. He's a great member of our community, great supporter. And if you need those handpieces repaired, he is your guy. But wow, Alex, this is such an important conversation, and it really does matter, because protecting your income and your dental practice, that's the engine that drives everything else. And so thank you for sharing so generously with us here on the Dental Wealth Nation show. But before we sign off, any closing thoughts for us?
No, again, just my biggest thing again with insurance is everybody hates it, but protect what you can't afford to lose. And so if income is one of those things, which it should be, and if you think through it, then you should protect it.
Excellent. Well, hey, thank you again for sharing so generously. And please take the advice, protect your income, protect your practice, because the stats are staggering. According to the ADA, 1 in 3 dentists are going to be disabled long enough to collect benefits. And I don't want you to be one of the ones who faces a disability and haven't protected your income. So make a smart choice, do that. And if you do that, you're going to take better care of the people you love, be able to support the causes you care about, and make a meaningful impact in the world. We'll see you again here soon on the Dental Wealth Nation show.
That's a wrap on today's Dental Wealth Nation show. If you've loved today's insight, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share the wealth with your dental friends. I'm Tim McNeely, and remember, your amazing life of significance is just one smart decision away. Keep thriving, and catch you next time on the Dental Wealth Nation show.